found it much easier to start working on these kind of videos and the supporting materials by working together. And I think that was because we were working in the same first year program and we knew what we thought students needed, but doing it alone, it felt like a very enormous task and it felt like a big leap into the unknown. Whereas finding a colleague to work with meant we could bounce ideas off each other and...
Yeah, it's good to have someone to sort of goad you along a bit and sort of say, well, that's a good idea, or we could do this slightly differently, or and just the companionship of knowing that you're on a journey together, I suppose. I think that was part of the fun of it.
Yeah.
I actually found it to be a fairly fun experience. I mean, it's a different experience, and it's part of your teaching, so you're at work, even though you're doing something that's sort of enjoyable and adventurous and sort of exciting. And I think the important thing for us was that we were just sort of giving it a go. It didn't have to have huge production values. It was just sort of learning as we were going.
I think it's safe to say that both of us have almost no technology skills. We're law lecturers. We're really good at analysing case law and statutes. Yep. We're really good at delivering, we hope, interesting classes to students, but we do not know anything about digital technology.
What I'd add to that is we're not scared of it either. So, we don't think when we press the button on a computer it's going to blow up or something. We don't know a lot about it, but we're not particularly scared in having a go and trying things, because the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to make a mistake.
And the one thing a colleague of mine said to me is, just try and add one new thing to your repertoire of skills each time you take a new course or take a fresh year. Just try and do one new thing. And that made it much less intimidating and much less of a huge mountain that had to be crossed. Okay, what's one thing that I could add this time, this semester? That's not too arduous. But neither of us understand how to do movie editing. We don't know how to design an app. We don't... there's lots of things we don't know, really.
but we're also interested in those
But we're
things.
interested,
yes.
And we're prepared to spend a couple of hours playing with it.
So I sit down and I write up a program. I write an aim and a methodology and how I'm going to break the group up and how many pencils am I going to need and that sort of thing. That's not a hard task. It just needs a bit of thinking through. And you need to work out what your objective is in the first place. What are you actually trying to achieve by doing that class? But in groups of 40, 50, 60, there's lots of different things you can do in terms of breaking students up into groups, reporting back, looking up things on the computer, finding things in Google. I mean, there's lots of ways of doing it. And it's really only limited by your imagination to a certain extent.
It helps to have a few repeatable techniques or repeatable skills, then you just adjust it to the different needs.
I also think it's important that the students sort of know in advance that that's what they're going to be doing. This year I trialled one of my other classes doing some activities in the classroom, and I gave them upfront warning. I said, well, next week we're going to be getting up and doing an activity all together. I want you to be mentally prepared for that. It's not going to be passive learning, and it'll be a really worthwhile experience. And I sort of said to them, I want you to travel on this journey with me, people. It's a bit of an experiment. We'll see how it works. We'll see if we can get something out of it. And so there's a bit of goodwill that you can get from the students as well in saying, well, we're going to try something different. And the report back that I got from these students was it was a tremendous experience. But again, they were mentally prepared to be doing that in that class rather than being passive learners. And I think that's really important.
And for us in the program that we're trying to implement for next year, what we're trying to do with the first year students is break a little bit of the passive culture that we see some university students getting into and get all the first years across the board engaged so that they're coming to class and engaged with the valuable part of their lecturers. Reading the material in the textbook and jotting down a few notes to be ready for class, that's something that they can do on their own. And if we spend time in class going through very, very basic stuff, that's detracting from time when they can actually get the value of the interesting things that we can offer them. So we'd like to see that the first year students become more engaged and see value in coming to class rather than the value of sitting at home and listening to an online lecture, the recording of the lecture and reading PowerPoints, which we find is the kind of lowest form of learning for them.